Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight at the 2024 Twin Cities Film Fest on the red carpet presented by Stearns Bank. I am your host for tonight, Callie Bliss, and I have with me one of our filmmakers, Elizabeth Giamatti, who has done a short film called When We Were Old that is a little bit of a juxtaposition because it's about two young women and their experience of trying to find words for an experience that they don't quite have words for yet because they don't quite have the maturity. Am I saying that correctly?
You're saying it great.
So tell us about this short film. Tell us what is the ethos behind it, and tell us about you as a filmmaker.
So, well, you said it very well. I mean, I have spent a lot of time with adolescents. I love them. I mean, I had one. Now I have an older person. But that moment in life was so striking to me and poignant when kids are 17, 18 and they present like fully fledged adults, where you have a conversation about politics, spirituality, culture, and if you closed your eyes, you might be talking to a 70-year-old. And then there are just these things that, well, first of all, you fear for them in the world, encountering big, scary things, but also that, there's just some things for which there's no substitute, like time on the road. So they think they're ready to take over the world, and then they have these experiences. They're like, oh, shoot, I wasn't ready for that. And, there's a beautiful poignancy about that for me. And also at the same time, in making the movie, I really thought about how that's actually true for all of us. I mean, it's easy for me to say that about 17 and 18-year-olds, and it's true for them, and it's true for all of us. We all have things that we end up encountering that we don't know how to deal with till we've been through them.
The juxtaposition of having the tenacity to believe you have the answers when you're younger and not knowing that maybe you don't, and the exact opposite could happen when you're 80 years old.
That's right. It doesn't stop at happening. And, one of the things that I really ended up thinking about in the process of making this movie is, I describe it by way of shorthand as a coming-of-age movie. And I love coming-of-age movies. But I also think coming-of-age is a bit of a misnomer. We're all coming of whatever age we're coming of all the time.
I love that.
So,
Very true. And one of the young stars in the film was also your co-creator.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
I've known her forever. She's the daughter of a really good friend of mine. She's interested in playwriting and acting. She was the last of this group of kids that I'm virtually related to who graduated from high school. So I was inspired by her. But also because she's a writer with a wonderful voice, I asked her if she wanted to work on it with me, because it was important to have her perspective on the characters' experiences.
So we've talked a lot about the macro, so now getting into the micro of the film. This is two young women who've had some experience in the evening, and that's where the film opens. And then the next morning we see them making breakfast and trying to find language. Do you want to give an audience a window into what that experience is, or do you want to leave it mysterious?
The night before? Well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't mind giving a window. You'd never really learn exactly what the experience was in the course of the movie, because the way that one character ends up telling the other is through doll play, because they happen to find an old dollhouse in the basement. And I did end up making a second short about these same two characters that takes place the night before, partially because I was interested in what actually happened. Not that it's necessarily so emotionally different from what this character tells her friend about, but it's really different to see two dolls enacting something that, and they enacted in a metaphorical way in When We Were Old, and then all of a sudden you see real actors. And it was interesting to me when I ended up having to cast the guy. That's the center of the experience is an interaction with a guy that she wasn't ready for.
Right.
His character wasn't ready for. But it's, the doll that plays him in this movie is this like beat up vintage doll with like a cowboy bandana and a ripped leg. And, he's like a weird John Wayne-ish, classically handsome.
It's like easy to toss him out.
Totally. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to cast a real actor whom I'm going to have to talk to about what's happening in a room between two people. Yeah. And it really forced me and Maeve, who worked on the other script with me, to humanize him. Not necessarily to make it so that he didn't behave badly, because he behaves badly, but in what I would argue is a human way.
So we have that to look forward to, because that's coming next.
Yes.
That's not this short, but that's coming next. And potentially a series.
I mean, I love these characters, so I'm sketching out some other stories with them, and for reasons both aesthetic and practical, I'm like, well, maybe we don't visit these girls again until they're 20. I'm interested in seeing sort of how things play out in terms of my own evolution of visiting these characters over time, and the actors' evolution. It's nice to not feel the pressure of, oh my God, I got to shoot all these things while they're, exactly this age.
Love it, love it. Well, thank you for joining us today. We are looking forward to When We Were Old.